Hi, it's Supras here, and today I'm going to share some experience about building Chrome extension. I have experience in building a lot of kinds of applications. I think I tried to build some Chrome extension years ago, which I totally forgot how I did that. Basically, I was trying to click this and on an image with some image, and then choose to download the image here. So that is a feature for Safari, which was handy when I was saving a lot of images for some reason. But yeah, that was a long time ago, and I totally forgot what it takes. So I started from scratch to build a Chrome extension to solve one of my needs. So basically, what I'm building, I'm going to show you really quick here. So basically, you can configure a list here. So I can just add anything here. For example, I don't know, is Yahoo still alive? So Yahoo.com. So after this, for the sake of testing reason, we change it to 10 seconds, which means that the websites will be looped every 10 seconds. So now we save. So this small list has been expanded, and now we click click to start. And here we are going to count from, we have counter here, so 5, 6, you can change it how often it upgrades here, or you can change how long it takes to reload it. So it can be used for some reasons, as you can think of. As you can think of, if you are going to just put some kiosk machine, you want to look through some of the websites, so you can use this extension. Or you can for some reason you want to put up some now instead of photo frame, so some website frame, then you can just list this, put this on, so put it in the secondary monitor and keep looping. So what I was trying to do here is that I'm trying to play a game called Path of Exile, and how it works is that the trade doesn't have anything in game with in terms of trading, like auction house, something that you can list and then automatically sold. Nothing from this. So you can set up the price in your game, and that's it. So when you want to buy the game, you need to, you want to buy an item, you need to go to the official Path of Exile website. For example, there's something called Mageblood. So this is something you can think of, this is called a D1 orb, which is a pretty rare currency item in the game. You can think it as a $100 bill. So you can put something here, saying that instead of this, we make something like this. So like a Mageblood, and here. And you of course can save it, and still it's not started, but it's fine. And you are going to press check some of this kind of item. So this is a very specific item for your to solve your mana problem. So this is a lot of games, they have this mana thing. So they you can just search by this. So basically, if you don't care about anything, you just care, you can add a bunch of filter here to define it. For example, you want to to check what the energy shield gives you. This kind of things, you can customize it, and all this will give you a different URL. So again, I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about the plugin. So sorry, the extension. So this devouring diadem. You can add something here. So basically how this works is that you are going to populate this list, and for now the UI and the experience and the user interface is kind of poor, so that what kind of thing you put here, you will be treated as a node, and then it comes with a website. So this, because this is kind of natural, so this list is readable and maintainable by human, and this populate list is understandable by computer and also makes sense to human. So now after this is done, so basically yeah, you just click save, and here then it will only affect your current tab, which is not very useful for a lot of use cases, but it will be very useful for me, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the browser screen in one of the screens and play the game like like in the Windows full screen mode on the main screen. So as you can see, so there was something pop up here for the Mageblood. So that it's something that costs only 90 divine warp instead of like 100. And you don't want, realistically, you don't want to refresh every like 10 seconds. That will be like usually too often. So like 60 seconds will make it like makes more sense. So as you can see, the user experience is not very good. So I have to like stop and restart it because I haven't fixed one bug in my code yet. Basically, as you can imagine, this website requires to log in to the project, to the website, and this will force you to this will have to prevent you from reloading the for like too often. For now, I don't know like if this like a screen view is caused by the API current threshold, so you don't want to reload the page very often. So now like it takes a while. So okay, so 90 develop, same thing as this. So basically what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to play the game, and this thing will keep looping. I will have several items I want to curate, and it will be keep looping. And whenever I see something that is like I want to buy, and it's at a low price, then I will just stop my game and go to the trade side and start buying for things. And there's one thing that why I don't use the active live search, because the API query limit is pretty high. So I think you can query for like 2 items at the same time, but not more. And I probably have like maybe 5, 10, or even 20 items I want to take a look. So, and I don't need to grab them right away, but I do want to like just keep an eye on it. So you can use something like the web page, like a subscriber, like, or like write more code to do the more like more customized search for this particular thing. But it's easier for me to start something that is pretty generic and allows you to achieve my basically it's called business goal. So to achieve my business goal. So the basic business logic defined by me, and we are now, as you can see, looking at this as a product. The only problem here is that when it's loaded, now we see a problem that for this particular website, it's just like taking ages to reload for some reason, and we may need to like spend some effort to fix this. But in general, basically, I think the loading mechanism is not maybe it's wrong the usage cache, maybe it's not utilizing the cache. There are some reasons. We are going to sort it out. But here's the use case, and I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to talk about the implementation. So which is how do you write Chrome extension from scratch. So I didn't like particularly started from scratch, because I was able to basically I'm the kind of person that who always want to start with an example. So basically there are 2 ways for you to start building something. One is to look at the manual, tutorial, manual, these kind of things. Actually, manual and the tutorial are slightly different. So for the manual, you basically look at all the documents and get a very detailed picture and start doing your thing. I see people doing it in that way, and there are some like corporations even encourage people to do that. But I am not a big fan of it, because in order to understand a lot of things, you can watch like 10 hours of video and spend like weeks to do reading the documentation. It just is not fun for me. The other way is to follow a tutorial. That is, you follow a very specific video. I don't watch video, but I prefer text. But they are basically the same thing. So like you can follow some guide to just do things from like one to three and then build something. And this is one way. The other way is to jump directly into the code. And I slightly prefer this way because it's fun and because code is more understandable to people like me. This may not be for everyone, but it's definitely something for me. So what I did was that I forked a repository that did something that is, I see some similarity. So basically, back to the business logic, I tried to, no one wants to reinvent the wheel. So I tried to look at the auto refresher, auto reloader, this kind of like extensions on Chrome Store. And unfortunately, they are mostly just reload either multiple tabs or just one tab, but you can't set up a list. The closest thing I got was looking at the one of the websites that I think it's called like bulk loading. So basically, you can provide a list of URLs, and I think what it does is that it injects some JavaScript redirection code to the first page, and then like it just keep doing it, reload the page and go to the next. You can set up interval, which is cool, but you cannot loop, which is something I want to have. Alternatively, you can just duplicate a list, like you add 10 items, then copy and paste for 100 times, and then basically just run indefinitely. But I think it's just less flexible. So that's one option. But I just want to to be able to fire something inside the plugin and loop it instead of copy and paste it 100 times. So here we go. We go back, and what this the original repo was is that it's a timer. Basically, it's just when you open a new tab, and there's a timer displayed here, and then you can just look at things like how much time you spend on the tab, which is something that it has a timer and it runs in the background, and it updates the UI. So what I thought was that, okay, so if I have something like that, then basically, while the timer is running, if you can update the UI, then you must be able to perform some other logic to check whether you want to meet a threshold. For example, like the hour, like 10 seconds or 1 minute mark. And after having that, we should be able to reload some contents. Because it's a Chrome extension, you have to have some way to interact with the current tab or the current window. So that was my assumption. And that was just some common sense. And I'm explaining my thought process here. Because like when you want to build something, you need to understand like what your goal is and what kind of examples you want to start with. As I said, the reason was very simple, that it has a timer, so check in the background, so it's not a trigger that it triggers from here, and this is the foundation, the very nature of the things I want to build. So I just downloaded the demo and started to make changes. And of course, I still read the bare minimum of documents, which is what it takes to, just build some Chrome plugin. And here we have this folder, source folder, under here, and this contains all the things that it takes to publish a plugin. So I will explain that here, and this knowledge again comes from some very basic documents that of course you want to you can figure it out as they are just common sense. But on the other hand, it takes maybe like 5 minutes to go through them, so why not? And they basically start with something like called manifest, and then if you take a look at manifest, well, I can just go here. So take a look at the manifest here. As you can imagine, it displays something that is like what is there to be displayed, what its purpose is, how to do the version control, and make contact. And there are something that is because you know what a Chrome extension is, then you can assume like what the permissions are and what they are used for. So the tabs is something that you need to get the current tab to basically change the current tab. So of course, like you don't need all the tabs, but you need to acquire the permission of this. So as you can again, we all use Chrome extensions. So when you install something there, it's probably going to tell you some very broad, like information that you want to, that it asks you. Usually it does no harm because all these are in JavaScript. I don't know, but I think you can like just download the root to unpack in the chat source code. And there must be a way because it's JavaScript. I don't think they are compiled. And I mean, I don't even know if there is any way to compile. I know it's a way to obfuscate it, to compact the source code, but to make it totally unreadable by human, that is, I don't know how hard how if that's going to be achievable. But anyway, I don't care about that. And yeah, back to the permissions. The story we want to save this. There are 3 ways to save this from the documents. So to save it in the memory, and which is bad, we don't want that. To save in the local storage, which is fine, but we honestly want to save something on the cloud and across all your Google accounts when you log into Chrome. So when you do this, I would not like create a website for it, because ultimately you want to own the data, manage data on your website, so that you can achieve some cool features. For example, you want people to be able to share this to others. Like for example, parts of Excel, probably I want to share this with community and say, hey, this is the items I'm going to looking for a build, and if you guys want to try my build, then you guys should like set up like filters to set up a list to track the process as well. Of course, this will make my life harder because more people will be looking at the build I'm building. But it may not be good for me because I'm not a content producer. But for streamers, it may be good for them because they don't earn money from like playing the game itself. If they play the game, they earn like money from more people looking, like watching their streams, and the more things they share with the community, actually they will benefit more or more money. So they will have incentive doing that. Anyway, so now like these are the things, and the icons probably I should move it a little bit above, so that it indicates all these are just for the sake of content display purpose, and basically like this small icon, it's like this here, which is again common sense. And this is something that I didn't know, and you guys probably, like when you are looking at this video, I mean, the title is probably going to be something like the basic of Chrome extension. So these are things that you need to know, which is a concept called a pop-up, which is when you click this, you got this page. This is called a pop-up. And there is also something called options, which is you right-click this and click options, and then you get some page that is can have some logic here. I don't have that because you can put something here in the options, or you can do it here. All these I think are valid choices. I didn't give it too much thought. I just started building the functions and started something from here, and it's basically easier for me to do it. But the downside is that to debug it, you have to click this and inspect on this particular view, and the console message will be displayed here. If you look at the other debug thing, I will mention a little bit like later, but basically, yeah, actually not really. So basically, we can talk about it right now. So if you click this, like service this console, so it is displayed here. So I don't know where the options console goes to. Maybe it will become here. Maybe you need to like let's just figure out right now. So now you can inspect it, and you are okay. You're inside it here. So yeah, I mean, this is from the background. Yeah, actually it's from here. So yeah, this is something that you can, like may be easier for you to debug. But anyway, started building things in the pop-up. So let's go back to the code, which is yeah. So let's go back to the code. And we are going to look at here. So this is pop-up, and this is options, and then the main thing in our logic is background, because like we have to execute some tasks in the background. And this structure is already there in the example, and that's why for the example is good, because you don't have to modify any things, right? But there's a catch, that there are something that you don't need. For example, here they have something called like this other icon. They will change icons while the clock is ticking. I don't need that, so I'm going to delete this. And there's a clock icon. I think this is I don't know what it's for. Probably it's for the marking icon. I don't need this, and I've deleted this. And they have library called comment.js, and I don't need this because this is to format the timer display here. And of course, the best practice is that you should put something in the comment module, but I don't. So I don't have it right now, and I'm going to probably I'm going to just create a legacy folder and put it here. For the contribution, this is the old project, so definitely I'm not going to submit any PR. This is totally different project, so I'm going to delete this. The license, I think I have to keep it here. Doesn't really matter. For the main CSS, I will go put it the legacy. I don't think it's used anywhere. For the options JS, I removed the logic in the options page. So yeah, it's gone into legacy. For the privacy, I do have updated here. And for README, I do have here, updated here. So these are the things that, what is test.js? Okay, so this is unit test probably, and I'm not using that right now, so I'm going to move to legacy. And for this is the, this is release I created from the source folder. I'm going to delete this. And for this image, I just get some high resolution pictures and put it here. And there are some candidate images, for example, like this. As you can see, it's generated by AI. So, actually, I should add it in a license file, saying that actually, I should update right here. So, contribution. Contribution. So this is from Google, and artwork generated by Newbin. Google symbol from Google. Okay, so now here's some donation button is from PayPal. Okay, so these are the changes I made. And almost all the things moved here, so we only need to care about the source folder. The reason is that I want to keep something like this, but when I release something, I really don't want to include all the other things. So yeah, I'm going to put all the things here, and when I'm going to release, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compress this, rename it, and upload it to GitHub release. I will show you guys that later, but let's look at the code right now. So let's look at the code. So first thing first, I personally always prefer to look at the code from the UI perspective view, which is the mostly the easiest thing to understand. For options, that is very static. So now the only thing that I added here is a PayPal button, and I updated a bunch of image things here, and I guarantee you no one's going to read all this. I hope someone can, donate, but I don't have high hope on that. But anyway, I just lost my job recently, so if you could, I have some difficulties with my family is having some difficulties as well. So if you can donate like a cup of coffee, that will be much appreciated. But anyway, I am not very good at that, and I'm going to like just talk about the code instead. So the code here is that it's a static HTML page, and of course I keep the license thing here because why not? And it's very static. And for the pop-up thing, this thing's started to get interesting because by itself, the HTML just rendered the UI, which is very ugly by itself right now. But there will be some like JavaScript codes needed for for the sake of logic. So I don't think it's allowed for HTML to have JavaScript in Chrome extension anyway, and I don't think that's best practice either. So which is something to explain as some of the background. And now some CSS I put here. Ideally, you want to stretch them out and make things more more manageable. Follow the best practice. I'm not really a web developer, so I'm not very familiar with that. But of course I know the concept, which is you are going to supposed to import those things as a library, and this code will be what's called the shareable code that is can be reused by a lot of different projects. And as an architect, reusing the code is something that I always push for. But in this example, I was just following I was trying to try to achieve business goal, and I'm going to do it in the ugly way, and I'm going to point out the problem. This is one of the problems for CSS. You don't want to embed it in the HTML. You want to serve as either one or several separated CSS files. This is called solid single responsibility principle. This is the one of the solid principles that all the developers should follow. It's not outdated. It's still very solid. And here, I don't know what it is for. Actually, I know. So this is something that I put it here. I want to say how many websites here. Not super useful, but I will keep it as comments. And for the logic, so this is the old logic. So we have this match here, and we use ditch. So this is because the previous code it does check which tab it is, so that they can display different timer for different tabs, and we don't need this. So I'm going to if these are not required, then I should remove it. So that's what I do. So I'm going to remove this code, and this coming code I may revive this UI components. This is basically called dead code. So you need to minimize your dead code, and that is something that you basically shouldn't do this, because if you delete something, you can very easily to recover it from Git history. So that's why it's not encouraged to keep this. There are some use cases I would argue that that code may be useful, but you need to follow some set of procedure. So I explain that more in details during the interviews, because also I'm trying to find a job. But other than that, yeah, there's I'm not going to talk about that right now. Maybe I will just start a session in the future. But anyway, so this is some comments, very bare minimum components. So basically, this is the should toggle is used for toggle the loop status, which is something that I will call later on, and I will explain later. And here we have some of the functions, and this is a problem of JavaScript. So it's the class is not the first how do I say it, the first resident in the JavaScript world. Functions are. This is because the background. So of course you can create classes and you can follow some better standards, but JavaScript is not the best language for a lot of reasons. This is one of the reasons that it's pretty outdated, and it encourages you to write bad code. And this, what you are looking at right now, is bad code, because you are thinking in a way that, okay, so this is the pop-up, so everything sitting in the pop-up, so we are doing it, this is called procedure based. So basically, you define some functions and then you invoke some functions. Or this is basically the script. You execute it like a line by line. So this is not typically what the script will do, but this is like the common way of the more modern languages, that you declare something in the first place and you use them. And these things will be like should be refactored as a class. And this is something that like you shouldn't do. That is like just define a bunch of functions. But anyway, for this like URL array, probably I should move it above. And what it is, this is also some bad thing that you just put here without putting any comments at all. So this is bad code. So don't do that. Like especially when you're writing your code for your employer. And basically for yourself. So if you want your code to be understandable, then like these URLs, like an array of URL strings to be sent to background. So basically, in the background, we don't care about this UI. We don't care about nodes. We only care about this website. So you could display some like notification, then the nodes becomes relevant. But for now, we are just looking through the website, and unfortunately, like this is not actually, which is we just need these URLs. So array of URL will be sent to the background, so that they can do the looping again, right? So this is something, and this is like the input interval is something, like so like how frequent the background timer updates runs, or got dispatch, something like this. And this is something like the input interval is something like actually this is wrong name. So why I call input interval? This is actually wrong name. So this is a to do rename to reload interval. Basically something like how frequent the current window / tab should be reloaded or refreshed. And now we are going to like this. These are the UI elements. So these are UI elements. You can always look up them here in the HTML. So that's why you sort of can get away from like not like giving comments for each item. But for these kind of things, you definitely want to add comments. And this is toggle. Wait a second. Yeah, this is to toggle background looping with and update UI. So this update UI, this is a bad word. So this should be named as update button, because it only updates this part. So we add another to do here, to do rename to update button status or whatever. So when you write your code, that's actually, I was saying that there should be data code. So basically, there should be some. If you have data code, you should have some to do. So basically, either revisit it or something like that. And if you are in a team, you should add a to do saying that it has to be addressed within like 1 to 3 sprints or whatever, because you are supposed to discuss all this with your team members. And if you don't do that, then you should delete this code, because others, they don't know what's happening in your mind. So it's me, I know what it's about, so I can get away with that, but in your corporation, it's not a good practice. And you may notice that we have like triple and double slashes. So this is a third convention, which I don't think like JavaScript does this. But basically, the convention for me is that if the triple is sort of more like a documentation, if it's double, it's more like a comment that explains what's going on. So this triple shouldn't be used for like to do in some contexts. You may argue, but I always use to do for like triple. So this is what I'm doing this. And here, all these functions we can revisit later. And by the way, this is another bad example that you shouldn't have this very giant function. This makes the code not very easy, not very like readable. I will explain how to work on that later, but basically just for now, let's leave it at this. And then, as you can figure, this is probably some like old code. Actually, no. This is some code that I was trying to figure out what is a way to get the button. So what I'm trying to do here is that when you, as you can see, I'm trying to get a toggle, which is something that is used to be the name of the button toggle. So I want to get a button. I'm going to assign a function to it, so that it basically does something when the button is clicked. And when you do this, this is something that you need to figure out the syntax. And even with the example, it's pretty. I mean, with the example, it would be super easy, but I couldn't find it. It's not included in this example. So I search online. It's pretty hard to find, and even ChatGPT didn't give me like a lot of useful information. So basically, I don't think the Neobing is here in my old. No, it's already gone. So basically, I tried to ask Neobing to give me some code that's read from some blog, and it's totally wrong information. It didn't work. So anyway, now we are back to the scene, and then like eventually find some code to work. And this is something that the dead code is you don't want to like keep this. And this is another way. This another way is also works, and this is a slightly different way of writing it. Basically, we get a link and right here, and we find our best way, so we don't need this anymore. So we delete our dead code, and then like you can see, so this is not a wrapped up in a function. So basically, what's not wrapped in a function is that you have all the declaration of variables, and then you have like functions that will be executed later. And then like you run this. Basically what you are doing here is that you add a event listener, and something will be dispatched by like all the like step by step. And again, this is a bad code. You see these kind of things even in a lot of like famous JavaScript projects, but you definitely shouldn't have natural code like this. You should instead write different function and reference different functions and nest them there. So this is just increase the complexity of your code unnecessarily, and this is bad code. So now we are going to get a bunch of elements and set them to the variables we already have in our run. That we are going to like do this, use this, and some of this may be used in the functions, and some of this may not. But we just declare them, and anyway. And then we after declare them, so this is again some arguably bad implementation, because you probably should just move it here, so that make the const, so that it is going to be inside this limited scope of living. And the scope management is very important. So it's probably bad experience and practice to write code like this. But again, it's just a simple code for now. So after this, we are going to do something about it. So for the button, we are going to hook it up with some function, which is this toggle function. And this similar idea with all the buttons, because when a button is clicked, you want it to do something. And how you can write that, you can write basically write some code in line here, or you can give it a function. As I said, it's always a bad idea to nest your code, to put all the code in the same place. You want to segregate them. And after that, so we are going to load a saved interval. We call this function, and then we are going to validate it. And by the way, validate your data. It's essential for all the languages, especially for JavaScript, because all the types and nouns is not very strict in JavaScript. So this is very bad as a language, because it's encourage you to like write bad code to without this check, it will be okay. It's just you will receive some exceptions in your code, and that is not good for in terms of debugging. It's better for other people, so that's something you shouldn't do. And another thing is that well, if you can see this, so if it failed, so basically what if there are nothing nothing happens. So this is also pretty bad. You should at least here add some like console log saying that this is module is called pop-up. So pop-up load failure cannot load what's called interval, reload interval, and this helps you. So now you see this line, you're going to search for this line in the code and see where it comes from and help to debug. So this is a bare minimum that for error handling. There are a couple of different ways. I'm not sure the thorough mechanism in JavaScript, but in general, you want to be really serious about the pattern you are dealing with, because you are going to, when you write your code, you are going to think for yourself after 3 months, after half a year, and for other people. So make your code very easy to debug and very, very easy to understand, and to avoid some bad, code habit, like whatever I just said. But anyway, so I'm not going to edit all this code here, but basically what I'm going to try to do here is that we load the interval, we reload the frequency, and finally we load the URL list. The order doesn't have a particular reason, but in the end, you want to call the save function. So now let's look at what they are. So basically, I have several functions. That is save. So for save, you are going to do two things. Actually, it's a bad name, because you are not going to save it. You're also going to format the list, which is a public list here, and do a bunch of things here. So here we are going to do some logic here, and this logic every developers should be able to figure out. There is something that, for example, like test content is something that is useful for paragraphs, but for table it's not useful. So that code. And there is some a trick. For example, you want to reset the tab table. What do you do? This table I'm talking about. What do you do? You can just set the inner text as double quotes, which is, again, that's why JavaScript is a bad language. That's why some people are creating things like jQuery to make it slightly better. But again, I'm not a web developer, front-end developer, basically because I personally, I hate all this technology. So all these things, they are just not elegant as we have. Even I'm basically the iOS guy, and I did some Android as well. So even when in the Objective-C and Java era, they are just a more solid language than JavaScript. JavaScript is popular because of web itself, but that's a perfect way of saying that the business is always more important than technology, because you find the business and how you funded your technology. But on the other hand, it's what it is, so we're going to deal with this. I'm not going to explain this line by line, but basically this is something that when I populate the code, if you see something like this, so you probably will think that this probably should create a function. So that, for example, the only difference you have here is the nodes and the URL. So basically, insert a row should be a function, so that you pass the nodes and the URL, and then call this function. So that you call the function, you add 2 lines, you invoke that function, and you remove this 10 lines. Then you end up seeing 8 lines, and make your code more readable. And that is something that you should always do to make your code reusable. And basically, it's a very script-driven process. And this, by the way, is the code that to insert one single row. I don't need it anymore, so I'm going to delete it. And now there are some to do here and there. As you can see, this is a double slash, which means that it's kept something to do with indentation. So now we are going to replace this with a proper URL validation. For now, let's say we start with HTTP. So HTTPS or HTTP column / and it's valid URL. Is it good enough? No, definitely not. But we are going to do that. How to validate it properly is actually pretty simple. You just create a URL object and see if it's null or not. But you probably want to write a function to wrap it up, and you want to write a utility class, and I'm not going to do that. So it's what it is. I'm going to check this, and if it's a valid function, then I'm going to just URL, then we do something. Otherwise, we don't. So basically, if it's we think it's a URL, then we append to something here. Otherwise, we just keep appending here. So here, as you can see, it's not ideal because actually in this cell, to make it multi-lines, you need to create like a PRE tag or something. So I don't want to do that right now. So I'm just add the most ugly implementation, which is just add a space between different lines. So like this is the bare minimum of the feature, and of course, like you see, there's no padding here, which makes it ugly. Blah blah blah. There are a lot of like downsides of this approach. Not downside, basically there are a lot of like ugliness of this approach. The UI is really ugly. But anyway, this is it does what it's supposed to do, and this is how you like when you call save. Basically, you repopulate it, and then like you save. So this is like it should be upload. So to do rename to update table and save. Or reload table, say whatever. So I find this last. So for to do, it has to be like very specific to what you want to do here. It's not good for it to sit in ages, to sit as a to do for ages. For example, if I'm not going to maintain this project, for example, if I don't see any donations at all, and like it just meets what my need, and then I will just use it for myself. Probably it will be stay here, and it will be a shame. You see some code that is read, because you can blame this code and see in which dates you write this, and if you see something like it's written for 3 years ago with a to do here, you know this project is not in good shape. And that is what it's supposed to do. Basically, it helps you to gives more users more contact and use context, and the user can see this by defining like to see if it just rename is fine, but if it's something like to validate the URL, it's considered as a bug. So that you can put something like HTTP1 here and still consider as a website, and this is not good, right? So it depends on, it gives people like more context, and it's always it's very important for the developers to be transparent about things to help others to understand, because when you are like in some of the academies, attending some like online courses, doing some lead code to try to pass your interview, usually you are dealing with very, I call it genius code. So like some code that is very hard to understand. Maybe to reduce dramatically improve the performance to reduce 10 lines into 1 line. So there's some genius code. But because it takes a genius to understand the code, so that, in my opinion, is bad code in industry. Because you write code to make it reasonably fast, to take a reasonable amount of resource to run. And the most important thing is that you need to be very, very able to maintain the code, to read, to understand, to modify, to add new features, to fix bugs. So that is more important. And this is the fundamental thing about the software engineering nowadays in the industry. This is not something you would hear every day at school. But trust me, this is a very important mindset. I mean, like everyone loves writing genius code. Like for example, Switzerland, you just read the bare minimum of your code, and then things just happen as a magic. So that for example, like in the UI, so some identity even just send out passively the background. Seems like perfect, but that is something that's actually some bad practice, because you didn't talk it with the business people who owns that analytics part. You just made assumptions, and for all even you discuss how do you expect them to understand all the intention details of your Switzerland, and how much effort it takes for someone to debug your code. So I was in one of the biggest banks in the US. I ran into some debugging thing. It takes literally days to debug something really should be simple to debug, but because of the genius code they put there, it makes our lifestyle much harder. And you may reduce some of the lines of the code, but that simply doesn't worth it, because to write code, if you code this, you write a solid interface to write a code, it's really fast, very fast for me to type anything. As you can see, like I'm not the fastest like a typer, but to type something, to copy paste something like in the UI, something like this, just something like this, it's very, very easy. To write code is very easy. To edit the code, to understand the code, that is actually to understand the code, to modify the code, that is the hard part. So you need to think about what is the fundamental thing about the software programming, software engineering. I may start some courses in the future, but for now I'm just focus on this very specific topic. I expand my topic a little bit because this is my first video that I ever talk about my professional, life, career. So, maybe a little bit, here and there, pretty random. But yeah, if you are reaching this far, maybe you enjoy it. Anyway, so this is the save function, and then the toggle function, as you can see, we just call this up UI with a parameter set to true. And as you can imagine, there must be somewhere that you update the UI which is false, which is something that we uploaded. After the first time we load the when the contents are loaded, we update UI. And we don't toggle the status because we just want to get the status of this button. It's usually false. I mean, it's always false for now, but you shouldn't hardcode it. You should get it from the source, which is in the background page. And then of course, so this, we're not going to send this message, so we are going to remove it. And for this log, we are going to remove this because that doesn't make sense anymore. And then to toggle, you just toggle with the toggle true, and to update the UI, then you will send a message, and this is the fun part, which is the more complicated part that you need to understand, which is in this page is a different thread than the background thread that is doing all the updates right here. Okay. So this is something that you need to figure out how it works basically. And to do this, of course, we are going to follow the some other tutorials because it's not included in the example, and that is of course why you just can't find a perfect example that just suits your needs perfectly. By the way, we have another one new item here. So now there are 2 items. So if you really want to buy them, so you can pick up a slightly better one. I mean, just like a use case. And then we are going to talk it to the send a message to the background thread. We are going to say that, so we are going to get the, so again, this is not the best way. So to do rename command to probably something handle update loop, something like this, or something. Page blood, still 90, good. Okay, so you do this, and then you are going to, rename this, and you are going to send this message, and then you are going to get some feedback. And based on the feedback, what I care about is whether it's looping or not. And based on that, we are going to update this UI. Okay, so let me just keep running for a little bit to see if I still run into the problem we had. And now we are going to go back to the fun part, which is the background part. Now here, there are a lot of legacy code. So here we are going to introduce some the common code. So here I'm going to leave this as is because we may want to introduce some common library here, and this is some some code that can be useful. This is something that if I want to reset the color, so probably I will keep this line here. And then it has the old code. There are several things that when you add, as you can imagine, all the tabs. So when you add something, actually I should do this. So see if my code still using the tab. Yeah, we are still using this. Okay. So yeah, for the tabs, we are going to add the listener when the new tab is added, or a new tab is removed, or a tab is being replaced, because again, there will be a different timer for different tab. We don't need this. So all these events, I think you can leave it for a reason that basically you want to handle it for like different tabs. But this is basically I would say too much. So I'm going to like delete all these events. And what we are going to do here is that we are going to like add one event listener for our pop-up, because by default it should do nothing. So it should only do things when the pop-up asks it to do something, which is to enable the reload, because we definitely want to reload this thing only when the user needs, because it will be super confusing for the user to see like his current code, current tab. Not only this, like for example, like this code, it will be when the timer hits, it will just keep loading the current code, which is exactly what I want. But this is not very common behavior. So like that is why I think you should probably like just think about your use case and build your user experience, like to make more sense. And here, what we are going to do here is that if we have this command, and then like if it's a should toggle and it has a non-empty URL array, which is the URL here. So by the way, this page is refreshed, right? As you can see. So this URL array, then we will be doing something, which is we will be setting this URL array, and that's it. We don't manage this array, and we don't do anything unless it's fired from here, which is what's called, I think it's interval. Yeah, set interval. So in the reload function, as you can see in the reload here, we call this reload in like several places. So it's like it reload right away, and it's why do I do that? Why reload right away? I think to fix some loading error. Maybe it's not really needed. I forgot. Maybe there has something to do with the initial state of this button. But anyway, like we use unless we set this like code this and this use the loop website function, and unless we use to this point, we don't care about the data. We only care like we don't use the data. We only set this here, and this is something that is to manage the threading. There could be some issues. This is a bare minimum of the implementation to update the UI and to schedule the different things happens in the background thread and the front end, whatever. This is something that is pretty like complex topic. So I'm not a JavaScript expert, so I've leave at this. And this line, by the way, is not super useful, but yeah. Background listener. Event message is called message, and this is another like thing I would say. So basically, if it's something called a message, then don't call it the event or whatever. Just call it by its name, because that is most understandable by all the developers. Because it's what it is. And trust me, not a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people just use whatever term like they come up with. They think makes sense. But this is very important as a software engineer, that you need to think about like different people have different mindset. You need to acknowledge this, and there has to be some reference. That is always going to be like better to write a reusable, understandable code. Okay. So now we have this, and then like and that's it. That's it. We are just going to like call the reload, and when the reload, we are going to like set up a bunch of like values, and then we eventually we call this we use a set interval to reset this web page, and that is why you see after changing this, we have to stop and click stop and save, because in the save button we don't send an email, send a message to the background thread, so there is no way to update. So we could change this by adding a new event. And also something else can be done here, that not only when you send this, but when you click this button, but when you edit this, you could add the event listener, so that when it's updated, you send the event to the background, so that this thing just change it here on the fly. That is, I think it's just a better approach, but it's requires time to do it. So yeah, I'm not going to do that right now. Again, if I receive some donations, I will like implement things like this, and that is essentially what I mentioned right here, which is to-dos that have like like a fix bug. So this is you may not think it's a bug, but to me, that's definitely a bug and it need to be fixed at some point if I'm going to keep working on that. But on the other hand, in some bugs you can live with the bugs, live with real bugs. And here we are going to like call this update, and let me try to see if what I'm going to do here, I'm comment out this thing. So like tabs dot update because we already updated this. So this example is not needed anymore, and we don't have tab ID for now. So I'm going to like delete this. So tab ID is here, and the tab ID is saved in history, which is managed in a different place. And we are not going to do this right now. We're going to delete this. And for this is kind of the comments that I call them debug comments, which is something that again they are dead code. But in some world, like it's very easy to just enable this and add some timer to be print out in the console. So probably that's useful. But again, you should avoid using this because that's my mindset. It doesn't apply to any other people. They will think that okay, they don't know whether you want to enable it all the time, and if you want to do that, probably there is something better. For example, pass a parameter here like a debuggable or something, enable whatever debug something. So basically, things can be done in a better way other than that code. So avoid using that code. This is bad. And after this, so basically we can look at the logic of this. It's very simple. So that you just loop it through, and when it's when it reaches to the top, in which it comes to the first item. So this again, this logic we can update this logic and make it possible to randomize the order of the list. But the catch here is that this again is a bad implementation. Why? Because there should be a looper class to handle all the loop logic. So that when you look at your code, you know, like you should just care about this index, that URL index. There should be some component to handle that, like all the logic I just described. So that when you want to change logic, you just go to that place instead of looking here, try to find out logic and change something, update some logic here. So this is some bad cases. Another thing here is that I shouldn't really have add all these semicolons here because if it's not needed, why you add them, right? So you just should delete them. Same reason why you don't want semicolons in the in Swiss language, if it's vanilla optional. And now, like as you can see, all this logic, they are very kind of useful, but they are they are just related with the very specific logic. That is the old code was about, which is to interact with the tabs and update timer. They are not needed, so I'm deleting them. So this is something that again, that code can be useful because you can just comment out the code and quickly check out if your code is going to break or not, and this makes it easier to refactor the code. And for that code like this, to do some reusable codes to some common JS files, libraries. And library management, that's a different topic. You can use Node, whatever, but I'm going to ignore that part. And now we made several changes to the code base, which is we added this, the screenshot should be added as well. So we make a bunch of changes, and now we are going to retest it. And this is what you do. So you are going to go to here, enable the sorry. So we are going to disable this. And Chrome / extensions, enable the developer mode here, and the load unpacked, which is something that the source is from. So load this, and after finish your changes, you just redo this, and then that's why unit test is helpful because it may make you feel better to just unit test your code instead of doing something like this. To see that this list is still here, yes it is. Like how about I change the 2 seconds and save it and then toggle it? Do I see the upload to like 2 seconds every 2 seconds? Not really. So that probably is a bug. That is the probably the event has been double scheduled, and that is something that probably is the problem that caused the double reloading thing. Now I think about it, I did this reload thing because this, I think it's called set interval, because I read it somewhere. People saying that like when you call read interval, it will invalidate the previous looper, but maybe the wrong assumption. So this will be a bug, and this doesn't really matter because you can always just step this and then like stop this right away, or like just like disable this, rename it, and then to make it like just restart, so that clean up all the background, and then you set up a dedicated timer here, and then this thing should always work. Actually, no, it doesn't. That's a shame. Okay, let's just restart it. Okay, so it doesn't work. That's a bug, right? So yeah, I mean, bugs like this always happen. So when you do something like this, then like is it the end of the world? No, but it's ideal. Of course, it's not ideal. So this is something that you probably want to maintain a known issue list, or like add something in GitHub. So in GitHub, you do have where's my GitHub tab? I don't know. Maybe it's somewhere here. See if it make it happen. Yeah. So you can just rest yourself. It's going to reload again. Okay. You add some issues, like here in GitHub. So like just help yourself to remember all these kind of things. Where's the issue? Wait a second. Where's the issue section? Issue tracker. I should enable this and make it. Why not? Just enable this. Let's save it. No, it's right here. Yeah, I mean, so create the issue for yourself, whatever, like so that you can fix later. And that's it. So like this function seems to be like working as expected. It's reloading, whatever. So it should be fine. And then like we are going to just publish another commit, which is remove the data codes, and then no, we are going to add this and then add this, so that these changes will be the rename, the moving change will be treated as a rename instead of removing and adding. This is better for the sake of history control, version history control. So now we are going to like push this, and that's it. So now you end up with something like like the what is you end up with something like this, and you updated the README. It goes more solid, and then what I'm going to do is that you are going to go to release section and draft a new release, and if you make any functional changes, you want to republish it, and of course you need to update your manifest, and probably you want to maintain a changelog somewhere, but anyway you just do this and compress this and drag it here, and then you can also build some CI workflows with with what's called with the GitHub Actions. It's it's pretty cool. So yeah, simple. Yeah. How do I remove this? I don't want to sing this anymore. But anyway, like I'm just yeah, this is just a very tiny project. And how much time I spent to explain this? So I spent like 1 hour to explain the process. And now to recap. So to start with something, look at the basic documents and go to the what's called the example. If you have, you can find any, and then start making changes, and then like make incremental changes little by little, and aim for the functionality first, and understand the architecture, which is like the pop-up option, background, manifest, permission, these kind of very basic things, and implement your code, and then refactor code, remove that code, put code in the better shapes, and it's easier to debug, and follow all the design principles of the software engineering, and that is what it is for today. So if you I submitted to Google App Store, Google Extension Store. But if you want to use it, you can just come here. I think I will put like SuperArts slash website hyphen looper. So go here and come to the release section, and you can download this v1.0 zip. And then you can install it from here. As I said, you can debug it here. You can look at the source code. I guarantee you there's no malicious code, but you can always look at the code yourself, because ultimately you want to be responsible for your own cyber safety. So that is finally the contents for today. Thank you very much, and see you next time. See you next time.